Hello there, beautiful beings. Just zooming out a little bit here. Rosy glow with a cup of tea and my crystals and my beautiful plants here just to get you very excited about two huge activations that are going to be taking place next week. So we have the full moon in Pisces on the 20th, Monday the 20th. And normally I do my energy upgrade, so the full moon upgrade and energy healing separate to my yoga, but because I'm coming back from my Divine Feminine Leadership Retreat on Sunday and the fact that the full moon runs on the Monday, we're going to combine the two. So you are in for a treat. If you haven't been to one of my multidimensional yoga classes yet, you are getting the energy upgrade and update and the multidimensional yoga class all in one very reasonable little price. And I'm going to invite you to go to the store if you haven't already. Check the link out, which will get you the opportunity to purchase. Please do so quickly and I'll explain why. We're receiving the codes for the Divine Feminine womb energy. Now this is absolutely important because the two activations I mentioned are to do with our Divine Masculine and our Divine Feminine, and they are essential for us this equinox. So on the Wednesday, I'm going to be hosting an Equinox free event for my tribe. You do need to sign up for it. And this is to offer the upgraded 5D chakra frequencies that will allow us to basically transmute the wounds of the masculine and the patriarchal system and transmute the wounds of the feminine and the matriarchal system to unify us so that we can actually come into what I'm going to now call a lot Uniarchy. And Uniarchy is essentially the time of unification, of unified consciousness and the birth of the divine child. It is the time of starseed awakening for all of us. And if you haven't really looked into the history of, well, how we've evolved into different eras and different strengths in terms of the masculine and the feminine, the lunar era, according to Anne Baring, who has been doing some amazing research, she's a historian, 86-year-old historian from Oxford University. She basically talks about the matriarchal time, 3,000 years or so of being the lunar era, and the patriarchal system that has since been, if you like, the next phase is actually the solar era, and the era that's coming now is the star era. Now, for all of humanity, this is really important because if you have wanted to believe it's possible to have peace on Earth, we need to have peace in the cosmos as well, as above, so below. Any astrologer will tell you that. So we are now being called to action. As the days are going to be getting shorter in the Northern Hemisphere, we are preparing to go into winter. And as a result of that, we get to do the deeper, darker composting work that will allow us to birth new seeds in the spring. But what we have to do is make sure that the soil is well fertilized. And so on Monday, with the full moon energy update and healing and the yoga, we're going to be preparing the space. So we're entering into the divine feminine womb space so we can receive the codes that we would have received if we had been born into a womb or conceived into a womb where all the hurts of the matriarchal and the patriarchal times had actually been processed and we weren't left with unprocessed trauma to actually process ourselves in our own lifetime. So we're going to get a really big healing, a really big clearing as a result of meeting on Monday. And this is then going to set the scene for Wednesday, which is when we're essentially creating the banks of the river for the river to flow. So with the upgraded chakras, the 5D frequencies, the 5D colours coming through, we're going to be able to allow our whole system to reboot. Now this type of update, upgrade, you know, to do it for the public without having gone through the deeper reprogramming that I offer through my coaching work is huge. I wouldn't normally do it, but I've been called to offer this for free to invite all of you who are ready to embrace ascension and want to unify with your star family and your soul family to come together. Now the spaces are limited, although it's free, they're limited, so you're going to need to sign up for it even if you can't make the live sessions. So Monday is 7:30 till 9:30. Wednesday is going to be 8 till 9 o'clock. And what's exciting, this is BST, British Standard Time, right? So check out the times. I think it's 5 hours before for EST and a bit longer for PST, so check that out. But basically, I've been impulsed a lot to start to move my energy towards supporting those who want to lead from the heart, the leaders of the future, to step forward. And for us to do that, we do need to heal the wounds of the masculine and the feminine inside of us. And just to give you a brief sense of what's important as I see it today, is there is a beautiful and long needed awakening of the divine feminine. The divine feminine is rising, womanhood is rising up again. But the thing that's important is that we often hark back to previous times and think they were the golden times, right? And the thing with the matriarchal times, men and women were not in balance. Although there was no war, although it seemed that the way that we were governed was more egalitarian and very much this balance of spirit and matter, the masculine was not empowered. It was in fact emasculated, suppressed, not in balance with the feminine. And so does it make sense that we then moved into an era where the masculine dominated and suppressed the feminine as a counterbalance to actually what had gone on in the thousands of years before? We've been through a huge journey of evolution as human beings, whether we have been seeded from the stars, whether we have just evolved from our biological imprint here on Earth, where we were evolved from being, animals and then growing our consciousness, is neither here nor there at this point. It's about what we want to do with where we are now. So I know that for the quickest, fastest evolution for humanity to occur, the most graceful, easy and joyful one, we absolutely must take care of the early influences that we were born into. So our conception through to the first 7 years of life. And we also really need to be aware of everything we are exposed to in the name of entertainment. What this is happening, or what it's doing to us, is it's preparing us either to expect more struggle, more stress, and to get more adrenalized, more addicted to adrenaline, or it is preparing us to rest, repair, feed and breed, and to nurture our physical beings, our emotional, mental, and our soul energy, so that we actually can evolve beyond the wounds of our ancestors. This is the call. This is why these two activations are so important. I've mentioned that we are now in the death of the patriarchal myth. We're seeing things for what they are. And I'll give you an example. So I'm careful in the words that I use, but you can read between the lines. At the moment, there's a move towards freedom for those that have had, the required, if you like, therapeutic measures that our governments, those that govern us, tell us we should actually have. Now, in our country, in the UK, the science is actually saying something different to what the government is saying. And if you can imagine that patriarchal systems are the systems that govern us, they are the institutions that currently kind of basically fence us in, if you like, or we abide by. And up until recently, the narrative from the mainstream collective has been, we're following the science, we're following the science. Now, the science is not backing up the narrative. So what's happening is the narrative is ignoring the evidence that things are different and trying to make the evidence fit the narrative or ignore what is uncomfortable. And this is so about why we need to enter into an era of accountability, of transparency and integrity, which means bringing the best of the masculine, the best of the feminine together, essentially evolving mum and dad inside of us so they can properly take care of the inner child whose needs were never met, and therefore to evolve the needy child, the child with unmet needs, into the divine child. The divine child creates through the power of imagination, and literally through every culture we have had imagination stamped out through the patriarchal system. Schools are not about getting people to think freely. They're about learning the rules, learning how to be in the society, the culture, the structures that exist. You and I both know that paradigms don't easily shift, like the establishment never lets go easily of established thinking. And what we are invited to now is to let go of blame, shame, guilt, and judgment, and to actually evolve into compassion and forgiveness with accountability, transparency, and integrity, to hold those accountable who are out of alignment with divine truth, and to do so in such a way that we evolve our concept of what we want governing us. So I'm intending that all around the world, the leaders that are going to be the ones that we energize are divine humans. They are awakened, heart-centered individuals that are not coming from their wounds. And you can take a moment to actually think about the world leaders and consider how evolved you believe they are. Now, this is much bigger than this video because I work with people to activate their starseed consciousness, their soul consciousness, and remember who they really are. I would not say I know of one political leader at the moment that is actually in that space as of yet, but there are lots and lots of starseeds in every institution, including the media and the entertainment industry, including the medical world, including the maternity services, including the fertility services, that know how important the first 7 years of life and conception and the gestation period is. So I'm inviting you to get curious and to come and join me, and I will explain more about this when we gather together. But just imagine for a moment being grown in a womb where you felt so loved, so wanted, so longed for, so taken care of. Every resource you could possibly imagine is actually there for you. And although the mum that grew you experienced every emotion, because that's healthy and that's normal, you weren't actually picking up unprocessed trauma or suppressed emotions. You were getting information in the womb about how to process emotions and trauma, so that by the time you come out into the world, you're in a space where you can really say, hello world, happy to be here, and you're ready to thrive rather than survive. Our brains actually develop according to the conditions that we're grown in, how stressed our mothers are and how supported they feel. So it's really quite a legacy to shift here. And imagine also being set up in such a way that you could ask for what you wanted without the expectation that your need, your desire won't be met. We're here on this earth to learn to co-create consciously in a physical reality. This is an amazing school to be at. It is said to be initially the living library of all of this universe. That was what was intended for this planet when it was co-created. And once upon a time, we did have the paradise codes here on earth. We did live in harmony between nature and all of life. But we had to lose our way to find it again. We had to go through the journey, the hero's journey, the heroine's journey, to get to the point that we could consciously choose to reunite with the co-creator, the source of all. So in our solar plexus, we have our programming, our lack consciousness, the need to control things in order to feel safe. In our hearts, we have the whole universe. Anything we could possibly want to create exists as a vibration in here. So we need to be clear in our intentions. We need to put our souls in control. We need to take inspired action that is in our conscious control. And we need to make sure that our vibration matches our desire. And the way we do that is through our energy system and the power of our imagination. I am inviting you to get some really powerful upgrade codes to join me in my tribe, to up level in ways you couldn't imagine before, so that you can start to see the possibilities. Because the equinox is on the 22nd at 2020, right? 2020, think about the year that we just went through. 2020 vision, clarity, the birth of the divine child. I invite you to join me. Please invite your friends. I want this to go viral. I want as many people as possible to partake, to lift their energy, to learn their divine architecture through the multidimensional yoga, to have the experience of being in the divine feminine womb, and also to upgrade their energy circuitry so we can all receive the codes to thrive on this planet and co-create the new earth paradigm that we desire. So please join me, comment, let me know that you're going to be there, let me know what you want from this, and I look forward to seeing you. Remember, please, to sign up ASAP so you can catch the replay if you can't be there. Spaces are limited, and I want you to be there.